we're back. Uh, Huge shout out to you guys, first of all, because huge response to the last episode. Lots of listeners, lots of feedback, lots of questions, lots of comments, lots of, strangely, a lot of apologies for ways that other folks maybe judged me or treated me in the past, which was pretty enlightening and humbling, refreshing. It was awesome. I loved it. And I appreciate the support. I appreciate people being interested and people sharing this message and kind of getting on board with what I'm trying to do here. And that is just share, my setbacks, my experiences in life, just to teach our youth, teach ourselves, teach myself, teach anyone that's willing to listen and hear the hard things that people don't like talking about. That's what this platform is for, to talk about the hard things and understand that you can let that be an excuse, or you can let it be some type of victory or some type of um, I don't know, strength in some sort of way for you or for someone else in your family, in uh, your life. Um, so let's do a little recap of last week. Last week's episode, really rough. It wasn't hard for me to share. I got a lot of feedback there. It wasn't hard for me to share in the sense that um, I haven't talked about it enough, so I got overly emotional. It's hard for me because I know that it's still happening to this day, and people are either turning an eye to it because it's hard, turning an eye to it because they don't want to acknowledge it. They know it will implode their family. That's why I kept it to myself for so long, because I didn't know what the outcome would be. I just knew it wouldn't be good. So, um, you know, you truly don't grow, in my opinion, unless you face some type of adversity or you're exposed to something that makes you step outside of your comfort zone and really take a fucking look at yourself and say, what am I going to do in this situation? This situation's not okay. It is completely against not only the law, but my moral standards, my, internal freaking standards, just all of the things. So if you come away with that, and if you can come away, there's a fly, like, oh, I'm out and doing this outside on my front porch, so you're going to hear we got lots of animals around here. You probably hear a donkey or a cow at some point, geese, we got roosters, all of the above, dogs. So don't judge me. um anyway, so back to the recap of last week. I got into more of the adversity as far as being exposed to sexual abuse from a family member, my mom's younger brother, and just having to grow up with my brothers being my primary caregivers and the ones that were looking out for me. And then I'm getting a little bit older now, and my family members are getting in trouble. Things are changing. The dynamic of our whole household is going awry. And, we get it sprung on us as, I was a 10-year-old that we are moving to the place where my predator lived, which just so happened to be a family member. And, you know, a lot of people are like, where was your mom? Where was your dad? Where were, so the first few years I was molested. I was molested from age 7 to 10. And my mom wasn't there for the first few years of it. And my brothers weren't either. Um, and they were the ones that were really in tune with me more than anybody. And so my grandparents were really the only ones around when it was happening to me in the early years. And then once we moved to Maricopa in 1990, This is where we'll kind of jump back into where uh, my anger and the dynamic of how I looked at life completely took a turn. So, prior being homeless, being exposed to, all the walks of life, all different types of races, Sacramento was, especially the part we lived in, because of the socioeconomic um, way that we grew up and being poor, being homeless here and there, we were growing up with all of those different races that were going through the same things. I had a lot of Cambodian friends, a lot of Indian friends, a lot of Black friends, a lot of Hispanic friends, Mexicans, all different races, white friends, and um, moving to Maricopa just, it made me super angry just because I knew that not only was my summers taken away from me, or were my summers taken away from me as a child, but now my everyday life, my everyday Monday through fucking Sunday life was getting ready to be, I was going to have to be on point every day of my life. I never got to relax after this. So, being molested really took my sleep from me in the worst way, as a child, and that didn't change, and it's still very much with me, and I'll get into what I've done to change my sleep later in my story. But I basically didn't sleep from the time I was 7 till I was 40, and I'm 44 now. But it was just because at night, when my family were big drinkers, so when we would have a family get together, especially after we moved to Maricopa, there would be a lot of drinking, all the adults drinking. My mom allowed the boys to drink, my mom allowed me to drink, and moving to Maricopa really increased my drinking as a youth. I'm 10 years old, and my brothers are partying, my mom's still working all the time, gone at night. She got a job at the White Elephant. Shout out White Elephant, what up? Um, so she was gone all the time. Boys are drinking and partying. Now we're around all of our older cousins, so it's like the crew's back together, the gang's hanging out. We're chilling, and parents allowed us to drink. That's what, the riffraff and the way we grew up. It was just like, oh, okay, yeah, you guys can drink as long as you don't leave the house. Fuck, but that was the way that it was. So, um, my drinking really increased, and I realized, not till I was older, of course, that was my way of numbing things. It was my way of coping and being, first of all, like everybody else, getting to fit in, getting to do what everybody else, getting to be like the other kids, the older kids, uh, and then just being, you never know when Toby's going to pop up. That's the kind of guy he was. He didn't work. He was on Social Security disability his whole life because when he was younger, he had some type of head trauma. He did not know how to read or write, and not because he couldn't learn, but because my grandmother didn't make him learn. My grandmother was also illiterate. Um, so something that wasn't important to her, that she didn't she bestowed that onto him, her laziness and lack thereof. And because of his injury when he was younger, he just floated through life being a transient drug abuser, sex abuser, piece of shit. I mean, he was a thief. He, had a lot of petty crimes. He had some not so serious crimes, but just a lot of theft, drugs, parole violations, things like that. Um, so never a good guy, never was married, never had children, couldn't have children from what we were told, thankfully. But so when we are back in Maricopa, I'm starting a new school again. I'm back to square one more time. No friends, no family members my age that I'm going to school with, nothing, just another new beginning. Here we fucking go. So I come in and I come into this town where it's got 1,200 people. My class had maybe 25 to 30 students in it, all whites and Mexicans. Didn't realize that until a couple of boys, which, I just recently told this story to one of my friends, and Maricopa was, I didn't realize, even though my grandparents were kind of racist, well, not kind of racist, they were just racist, um, on my mom's side. And so I'm in class with these two boys get in a fight, an argument. They're kind of just bickering back and forth, and one of them calls the other the N word, and I was like, "Hey, you can't say that." And I'll never forget that he looks over at me and he goes, "Why? There aren't any here." And that like stopped. I was like, when you get punched in your gut and like like it just like your throat, your gut react, your heart feels like it's smashed in. You feel like you're trying to suck air through your heart or something. I don't know. But like I was just like, oh, like he did not just say that too. Like he didn't follow up that with that. There's no way that dude just said that. And I literally looked around the classroom, and I don't know. I'd only been there, maybe a couple months. Didn't really know anybody. And I literally look around and I was like, oh my God, there are no black people here. There are no Asian people here. There are no Indians here. It was legit white kids and Mexican kids. And that's when I had my first realization, like, uh-oh, Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, you know, which was reverse. We were in Kansas and shit got real racist real fast, and I was tripping because I have family members that are multiracial, biracial, black, white, Filipino. So I was just like, wow, this is what we're working with. Hold on, I gotta mute my stuff here, guys. Sorry. And we're back. Sorry about that. Um, so this completely just takes me for a loop, and like I remember growing up, my brothers, when we lived in Sacramento, like this one black girl loved my brother Justin and was on his ass. Audie was just here this last week taking care of me from my recent surgery, and we were laughing about how she was on his ass and she loved her some Justin. We'll get to that at maybe a different day though. But anyways, just the things that I became exposed to, not just in my own family, but the weird racist backwards. I felt like it was 1990 and I felt like it was probably 1952. I don't know. So just terrible, and I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It's like it just was ridiculous, and I pray to God those people grew out of that situation. Um, so of course our family in time increases. We're in Maricopa. We start having more barbecues, more this and that, more, spending every holiday together. It wasn't just a Christmas here or Christmas there. Um, and the abuse continued with Toby. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about everything that happened, but I will say, because there have been some questions that I've gotten about the abuse, and, there was oral sex, there was vaginal sex, there was no sodomy. Um, and even though it was fucking terrible and the worst thing that I had been through at that time in my life, um, he never, physically tied me down. He never, um, like hit me. He never made me feel like he was going to kill me. He never uh he never made me do drugs. He never made me subject to those types of things. So if there's a silver lining in any of it, like the abuse that I did endure could have been a lot worse. Um, and I don't know, you just go, when it's happening, you just go to a place, you go somewhere else, you check out, you uh, unplug, if you will, and you turn it off and know that if you comply, it will be over faster. Um, so that abuse kind of continued throughout, I would say, the first 6, maybe 9 months that I was back living in, or that I lived in Maricopa. So you're talking into 91. And I don't, like I said before, I don't have exact dates on any of that, but I don't know where the change came. Um, but the drinking, the binge drinking, the drinking, being allowed to drink at home with my brothers. I don't know if being around like all the boys and just the way they would talk, and listen to them talk about like things they heard or saw, or like you would see things on TV, or talk shows, and like people being on there telling their stories. And my mom was a big talk show person and daytime talk show shit. And so comments would be made like, oh, if anybody ever hurt you guys, I'd fucking kill them. If and not just from my mom, from grandparents, from my uncle Bob, which was my mom's older brother, and just like the way that the boys would talk about certain things, or if they heard about a dude treating a girl a certain way, they would say certain things and whatever. And so like I just kind of started picking up on, because I was very street savvy, street smart, but like if you're not taught about sexual abuse and you're not told about sexual abuse, you aren't it's not in books that you're allowed to read. It's not, at your local library. Fucking no phones were around back then. So you're not picking up on all these social cues because you're not exposed the way you're exposed now, but still people don't talk about it the way that they should. Um, so, I just start picking up on social cues a little bit more, and I'm getting older. I'm 10 now. And, so I'm like, okay, like, he's not allowed to do this. Like, he's lying to me. He's definitely got the upper hand. And that's when I was like, no, okay. So I start thinking, and all this time like is going on, and I'm starting to get more and more callous, more and more angry, more and more resentful towards my family. And, different things are happening in my life. Like, I Eldorado 1990. So we're talking October of 1990. My grandparents sold belts and buckles. They were leather. They they would punch the names in the back, very, very popular amongst white folks and Hispanic folks. They would go set up at, swap meets all over the United States. I got to travel and do that with them, some of the funner times when I was younger. So at Eldorado, they would go set up and, sell their things. Well, my mom's in town helping them, right? So I'm in Maricopa. I'm riding my bike. I had made this friend. I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Casey. And he lived across the street from my grandparents. And so that's how I knew him. And we would ride bikes together and stuff all the time. We were in the same grade. So I'm up on Tank Hill riding a bike, and I have on a tank top and some shorts because in October in Taft, Maricopa is pretty warm still. So I'm bombing down Tank Hill. I got no helmet on, nothing. And I wreck. And I go over the handlebars. I freaking land on my forehead. and like I skid down. I have gravel all embedded in my forehead, like at the tops of my cheeks, freaking skint my nose off my cheeks, freaking my elbows, my armpits, my had road rash everywhere, all over my body because I had shorts on and freaking a tank top, and I didn't wear a bra when I was in 5th grade. Sorry guys, I still don't sometimes, but I am now right now. Got these ladies on lock. So, my aunt and uncle randomly, different aunt and uncle, like old lady aunt and uncle that live across the road from where it happens. Well, they're actually out on their porch and they see it happen. So I tell my friend, go get my aunt and uncle, tell them come get me. So my uncle comes over, gets me in the truck, takes me back to his house. And, no cell phones. So he bombs into Maricopa. They were set up at the police park. There was some kind of event going on at the police park. So he goes, grabs my mom, brings my mom back out to Maricopa. And I'm just sitting on my aunt's couch. I cannot put my arms down. Like, I'm just holding my arms up. And I know I'm fucked up. I know things are not good. They're not good. I can tell something is not good. And so my mom walks in and sees me and is like, gee, like comes in first. She like walks behind the couch because that's the way their door was. So she walks in and she comes in and she sees me and she just goes and like covered her mouth. This makes me go into shock because she saw me and she couldn't handle the way that I looked. And my mom was a pussy when it came to me being hurt because I was always the one that got hurt. So my uncle's like, let's take her to the hospital. Taft had a hospital at the time. So we jump in the freaking car, go to the hospital. They get me in there. And they got me, laying in there. My mom's in the room with me. And the doctor, he gets like one of those dental pick things that's what it looks like. And he like had which you can't tell, but I had like my hair was all jacked up right here. And so he pops this rock out of my forehead and that made it bleed. Well, like literally the blood just comes gushing out. He put his hand over like that so that it wouldn't run in my eye, and it made my mom pass out. So he's yelling, get the mom out of here, get the mom out of here. So like my mom couldn't handle the sight of blood, and so he picks her up, or he doesn't. The nurses pick her up, get her out of there. They do whatever. So they ended up digging a third of a cup of rocks out of my head right here. He had to shave my head. Freaking, I had a shit ton of stitches right here in my head. And I mean, I just had road rash all over my body. So, that was like October. We moved there in October. So I was like a couple weeks after we moved there. So I'm like, Jesus Louises, what is going on here? So, wow. So then my grandparents in December are at the swap meet in Bakersfield, the one over by Floyd's off of Union. And I'm pretty sure it's still there. Like they use it for fair parking and whatnot now, but I think it's still a swap meet on the weekends. So we're at the swap meet. We go visit my grandparents. It's me, my mom, my friend James riding in our van. That was my mom's boyfriend's van. Actually, she had the same boyfriend from Sacramento. His name was Jerry, and he had this old, like, I think it was like a 64 Ford like Ecoline van, somewhere around there. It was a really old Ford van. Did not have seats in the back. It just had two bucket seats front passenger, and then it had the engine between the two front seats and the engine cover. So my mom had gone over, and which I don't know what for, but my mom had gone. Oh, they were building a wall for her bedroom in Maricopa. So we get this lumber. We visit my grandparents because Floyd's was right next to the swap meet. We got some gas in a gas can, and then so we are driving back from Bakersfield to Maricopa, and it's December. I don't know the date. I know it was early December though, and we're going off because we were going to go by my Uncle Bob's, and we're exiting off of the Ford City exit. where the line of trees are, and it says "Welcome to Taft" on the big sign. And it had been raining. Well, there's no seatbelts in this van. My mom's driving. I'm sitting on the engine cover, and James is sitting in the passenger seat. And he's like, I don't know, maybe 2 years younger than me. And I'm 10. And my mom, like, they said there was like oil or something in the road. And as my mom was exiting, like the back tires hit it and they started fucking fishtailing, spinning, slick, rolling. She couldn't fucking, so she hits the brakes. Well, no power steering, no nothing, no nothing safe. Van weighs 9,000 million pounds. We go right off that little embankment and we go end over end in the air twice. We hit the ground and we roll twice. James and my mom both get ejected. I am stuck inside. Engine covers off. I'm pinned underneath the steering wheel. Gas is squirting everywhere. It's hot. There's smoke. I'm like trying to get my arms kind of pinned. I'm trying to get myself unpinned. There's fucking gas squirting on me. I'm like wiping my face and I'm screaming for my mom. And it's dark. It had just gotten dark. So it's a little dusk, really. So I'm screaming for my mom, and the van was on its side. And it's on its driver's side. And I'm staring out the front window. And so I finally get unstuck and I see her, and she's laying right in front of the van because the van lights were on, and she's laying right in front of the windshield, but the windshield's all busted, but it's still intact in the freaking van. And so I'm screaming, Mom, get me out, because I'm seeing the smoke of the gas is squirting. You know, I'm 10, but I'm not an idiot. I'm putting two and two together. I'm going to catch on fucking fire, or I'm going to blow up like the movies at any second, right? So I'm just screaming, get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here. And she goes to get up. Well, her glasses were thicker than, I don't even know how thick they were, you guys. They're thick, okay? They were thicker than a Coke bottle bottom, and that's all you got to know. Bitch could not see without them, and they was gone. And so I see her, she's on her back, and she tries to get up, and when she tries to get up, she just immediately collapses. So I'm like, okay, it's all on me. So I'm punching the windshield as hard as I can. Wow, 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 wow. Nothing's happening because I'm 10 and I weigh probably 75 pounds if I'm lucky. And so I'm scared. I'm freaking the fuck out. And then I finally hear this lady's voice. And she's like, can you walk? Can you walk? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And she's like, crawl to the back of the van. One of the doors came open. So I crawl through the back of the van, all that lumber, all the crap in the back. So I crawl through, get out. And I was like, get my mom, get my mom, get my mom. And she was like, my husband got her. And I was like, no, I just saw her. She's up front. Go freaking get my mom. And they were like, she's up here. She's up here. And so there was a truck that was right behind us when the accident happened. And they saw everything that happened. That's how we know we flipped twice and rolled twice. And so they stopped to help us. And uh, I don't know how anyone ended up calling 911 because, like I said, zero cell phones back then. So, anyways, the husband had gone down, gotten my mom, picked her up while the lady was getting me out of the van. So, my mom was up there waiting, and then the paramedics come. So they had us sitting in the back of their truck. They laid my mom in the back of their truck, and I'm sitting in the back of their truck. And paramedics come, and paramedics, like, I had blood all over me because my face had hit the windshield, and so I had like glass in my face, and I had blood all over me. And he's like got his finger and he's just poking around in my mouth, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, you have a laceration on your cheek, and I'm just seeing if it went all the way through. And I'm like, come again, all the way what? No, which it didn't, thank God, but I still had to have stitches in my face again. So my mom, they think when she got thrown out, her foot got caught between the brake and the gas pedal or the clutch, because it was an older van and it was like some weird pedal situation. And so it wasn't like a normal clutch, though. It was like a column thing situation. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. So they think that her ankle got stuck in there, and so her heel got crushed and her ankle and slash foot got broken in like 5 different places. So that's why she couldn't get up and help me, and she couldn't see. So at this point, I'm just like, dude, someone's out to fucking get me, right? Like, of all the things I've been through, like, the universe doesn't want me fucking here for some reason. Like, this is my mind at that time, at that age. Like, what else is fucking coming for you, Shauna? Like, what? You can't live because someone's trying to take you out. So it just made me more angry, kind of more hateful, just like constantly looking over my shoulder. And I had already done that my whole life. So it was like, now it was just for different things. And so, uh, all of my innocence, all of my childlike ways, not my maturity by any means, but like all my childlike ways were just gone. Like, I was just thrust constantly into these situations that were just, what the fuck is going on? And it ended up, making me rad, I guess, is the rumor. But it calloused me. It made me angry as all hell. And also still, um, I guess, resilient and open and still willing to put myself out there constantly and willing to carry burdens more myself than put them on other people, because I was watching people around me make terrible decisions and fall apart. And I thought for some reason I can handle it better than they could, which is fucking sad, but the way that it really was. And so, this is where my mom's working all the time after she heals up. So while she's healing from her foot injury, which, she had to have a couple surgeries, she was in a cast from foot to hip. She was in a situation to where, um, she couldn't work, obviously. And back then, there's no telework, there's no computers at anybody's house. And she's selling drugs now again. So back to, my uncle Bob was selling drugs at the time, and I can talk about all this shit because they're all dead, so you can't come get them. But yeah, so my uncle Bob was selling weed in Maricopa, or he was kind of supplying Taft in Maricopa, really well. And since we lived in Maricopa, my mom became the Maricopa pot dealer, and my uncle was the Taft one, and it was just chaos. And so I pretty much was left to my own devices. I was allowed to do not whatever I wanted by any means. There were still rules. I still got grounded. Clara still thought, my mom still thought she had the upper hand, still thought that things were in her control as a parent, which was a joke. And so I started testing the limits a little bit more, a little bit more. I was always sneaking out. I mean, I would sneak out in the middle of the night in Maricopa because my room was so far away from my mom's, and the boys were always at my Uncle Bob's or you're not home. And so I'm sneaking out at 1 o'clock in the morning and walk around in Maricopa all over. I'd go to the park by myself, Maricopa, just chilling, swinging on the swings, freaking riding my bike, doing what I want because there's no cops in Maricopa. And so just heathen ass shit. Um, and so eventually, after seeing all these things and hearing and just being more exposed, like, I'm like, okay, it's time. It's time to put a fucking stop to this shit. It is time. I'm done. I'm done. And so, uh, I remember one time I was on our couch in Maricopa, and I don't know, I must have fallen asleep on the couch first, and like Toby had either come over after or he was already there, and I wake up to him touching me, and I was just kind of like, knock it off. And my mom's room was off the living room, and so I was just like, don't touch me. And he was kind of like, what? And I'm like, don't touch me. And I got up and I went in my bedroom and he didn't follow me. So I was like, okay. So that was kind of like a, maybe I do have a little bit of power in this. Maybe I do have a say so in this. So then, you know, other times come up, other times come up. And like there were a few times where I felt like I couldn't, and I was in the situation where I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, this is going to happen again, you know? And then I wouldn't want to go to school because I was like, this was the first time these two lives are like intertwined, and it was like, if I go to school, are my friends gonna know? Are they gonna be able to tell? Whereas, you know, when I was in school in Sacramento and it was happening in the summer, everything was so separated. So they didn't, none of my friends in Sacramento knew my life, you know, down there. And so it became just one of those things like the shame grew more and more, the embarrassment grew more and more. And then after, you know, I kind of realized I had a little bit of power. I started exercising it more and I started saying no more. And then I remember one time he came into my room and my brothers weren't home and my mom's room was so far away, like you could not hear a conversation if someone was talking in my bedroom and she was in her bedroom even awake. And so I was like, you know, he was acting a certain way and I was like, you know, then I spoke like this at 10 and this is what stopped it. And I was like, don't fucking touch me. Don't you ever fucking touch me again. I will not get in trouble. You're a fucking liar and don't you ever fucking touch me again, or if you do, I will tell and you will get in trouble, not me. And I know that you're a fucking liar. And he literally tried to start talking again, and I interrupted him, and I said, don't fucking talk to me. I said, get the fuck away from me now. And he left, and he never again, ever, ever tried to touch me, and he never again did. And I made sure, you know, when I came to Taft in Maricopa, my cousins, Robbie and Jason, were starting their families and they started having their kids, and I got to be the babysitter and I loved it. I loved babysitting my cousins, but you bet your fucking sweet ass that when the next generation in my family came along, um I made sure that motherfucker was never around those kids, and if he was, they were with me. And once I spoke up to him, I made it very fucking clear he better never be around or fucking touch my cousins. And, you know, once a different episode we get there, you know, we'll get into that a little bit more, but he knew, and I made it very, very, very clear that he would not be doing this ever again to me, and he would never touch one of my cousins. And that was the day, I guess, I put my fucking cape on and started this journey of healing for myself some and putting an end to it. And, you know, so that part was good, but the drinking continued. The anger continued, even though I wasn't being assaulted anymore. I was still insanely angry. I was probably even angrier in a different way, I guess, because I was like, holy shit, you could have stopped this a long time ago. I never thought, like, oh, if you would have told someone in your family, it could have stopped a long time ago. I kind of blamed myself again. I blamed, so the shame, the guilt, the infuriating piece that comes with, holy shit, if you would have had the wherewithal. So it was back to blaming me again, which therapy. I can't tell you about therapy enough. Go to therapy for anything, for everything. Go to fucking therapy. And if you can hear the geese, I'm sorry. So, God, that felt good, but it led to other things. So drinking becomes a thing, like on the weekends, like, oh, and there's so many beers because so many people are drinking. So like, all the adults are drinking, they can all drink in excess. So if we're hanging out, we're barbecuing, people are coming over, family, friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, of, older people, not me. And it's cases and cases of beer. So like, I'm snaking a couple here and there everywhere. Nobody notices because there's so many. Or go get me a beer and I'm sipping on it as I'm walking into them. That was a habit my whole life with my parents, my grandparents, my dad, my mom, all of those people. It was just kind of what our family was like. And so then, I'm still not being watched. Now my brothers are gone. They have their driver's license. Audie's got a car. They're in Taft all the time. They have girlfriends. They're never around. So now Shauna's just fucking on her own in Maricopa. So, I start getting little boyfriends, and guess what? Shauna starts thinking is great. Having sex because she thinks she wants to, and she's old enough to, and she's grown up, right? Shauna's a grown up because she does everything else. She smokes weed every once in a while. She'll sneak a cigarette. She drinks. She's 12, and she decides, why not start having sex with little boys you go to school with? Why not? Right? Good idea, right? No! Fuck! So, my promiscuity started then. I was 12 the first time I decided I wanted to have sex with another boy. And that, unfortunately didn't change for a long time for me. And I didn't understand why, but I was never at this point in any type of situation again that I didn't feel like I had control of, but I was definitely not supposed to be having sex. It was not in the cards. It's no 12-year-old should ever be having sex, period. End of story. Like, and I didn't know that then. And it took me a long time to find that out, but I'm so glad that I did, because it just was not okay. So, that part of my life was just insane looking back. And then I'm going back and forth to my dad's. So I'm riding the fucking Amtrak train from Bakersfield to Sacramento, or Bakersfield to Stockton, and then taking the bus from Stockton to Sacramento. No cell phone, 12 years old, just bombing up to Sacramento by myself on the train, back and forth, to visit my dad and my grandparents. So my dad marries this twat named Cindy. She had 2 sons that were younger than me, and I got along with them plenty fine. But Cindy, like, I thought she was cool. I thought that, like, finally, like, my dad's got a family. My dad's got, like, he's not by himself, and she seemed really cool. Like, she was, you know, the first time I met her, like, super fun, super engaging with me, asking me questions. I was excited, like, cool, whatever. So then go back to visit again. And my dad had always bought me school clothes, typically, as long as things were going well with him at work, which they typically did, because he was a commercial roofer. And, when the weather was good, he was working, and he worked, schools, hospitals, huge commercial buildings. That's what kind of roofer he was. So he would typically buy me school clothes, and then I would, come back home with my school clothes, or he would send money home with me, and my mom would buy my school clothes. Well, this particular year, um, we go buy her son's school clothes, and then she buys her sons each 2 pairs of shoes, and I'm there, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, um, can't get you any shoes this year. Like, the budget's kind of tight." And I was just like, "Oh, it's cool. Like, I'll ask my mom if she can, buy me some shoes this year." And so it was just kind of like, weird and whatever. She was just kind of weird. And so, whatever. And then my dad, I would call, like, I would be home in Maricopa, call my dad, which was not often, maybe once a month, talk for like 10 minutes because long distance calls, once again, expensive. So I'm trying to talk to my dad on the phone and he's just being short and just, not, I don't know, it was just weird, just super weird, distant. So I go up there and my dad's very basic man, didn't have a credit card. Not because he couldn't have one, because he didn't want one. He was very like, if I don't have cash, both my parents are like that. If I don't have the cash, I don't need it. I'm not getting it. So, go up there and hanging out one summer, and she's like, oh, let's go, on a walk. And so my dad's best friend had to work down the road from my dad's house, and he walked to work or would bicycle to work, and he walked and bicycled. He had for my whole life. So we were walking, and like he was leaving work, and we bullshitted with him for a minute, whatever. We go back in, and uh, my grandmother and dad lived across or right next door to each other. And so my cousin lives there with my grandma, and we're hanging out, and like my dad and her are fighting, and I have no idea what the hell's going on. So like me and my cousin being sneaky little shits, we sneak out of my grandma's house and we go over to my dad's house, and we hear them yelling, and she's calling my mom a whore and like saying all this shit about my mom and saying how we don't even know that she's your kid, and all, I mean, just, bashing my mom, bashing me, talking mad shit about me, like saying that fucking my mom's all this, that, and the other, and that we don't even know that I'm my dad's kid, and whoop, whoop, whoop. And so I call my mom and I'm like, bro, I need to come home. And my mom's like, nah, no, you're not. You said you've been missing your dad. You want to see your dad? Well, you're there. You're fucking staying. Like, you're at your dad's. Stay at your dad's. I'll see you like in a week when you come home. Thanks, mom. So my dad had like got in a big old fight, thrashes the house, like screaming. I stay at my grandma's. I'm like, and my grandma hated Cindy too. But so this is just, a battle. And I'm like, wow, didn't even know that was going on. That's cool for my dad. But we don't talk about it. And so I go back up, and like I don't see my dad for a minute, a couple years, and I we get a call, and it's like, oh, we're gonna get married. It's just gonna be a small wedding, doop doop doop, from Cindy. All right, cool. So like it's just gonna be her, my dad, and her parents is what she tells me, up in Reno. All right, cool. Um, so then it's been a couple years. I feel like maybe things have died down. She calls, tells me about the wedding. So I go visit again. And this is probably, I'd say my freshman year, maybe. Summer before my freshman year, maybe. Somewhere around there. No, yeah, probably summer before my freshman year. But, anyways. So, as soon as I get to their house, this bitch I mean, she's on cloud nine. And she ain't treated me this way in a minute, right? So, I'm just like, what is going on? Last time I was here, it was not like this. And so she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. We have a video from the wedding. Do you want to see it? Yeah. So she fucking pops it in, and everybody's there. My dad's homies, her kids, my grandma, the dude she was married to at the time, because my pa had passed by this time. Um, like people I didn't know were there. Like it was a full on fucking, thing. My dad's in a tux. So at the time, I'm a kid. I'm pissed at her. I'm like, oh, okay, fuck you, bitch. I see what this is. And so it was literally like, so when my dad was being weird on the phone. So, anyways, I stay. Hold up. I stay. I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm just, after that, I'm like, all right, bitch, you done fucked up because now I know your game. And so, I stay. And this time I only stayed for like 4 or 5 days. I didn't stay for very long at all. And so I was just done. I was fucking pissed. I was pissed at her. I was pissed at my dad. And which, as I got older, obviously I needed to be pissed at my dad because he didn't put his fucking foot down with this twat. but we'll have that discussion on a different episode. So I just was like done with this bitch. I was like, okay, I don't give a fuck. I don't care what she says. I don't care what she does. I don't care how nice. I don't care what she buys me. I don't care what. She just rubbing it in my motherfucking face that I was not involved at all and that was because of her. And so I was just like, all right, dude, that's cool. So, just done. Don't care when I go back to my dad's. No, I don't want to go back anytime soon. And then guess what? I get a letter in the mail because snail mail was the way to go. Grandma, my dad's mom, didn't like this twat either. So she writes me this letter saying they broke up. Guess why? Anybody want to guess why? Because my stepmom's a whore. Stepmom was fucking my dad's best friend. Dad broke up with her. Dad wasn't with her anymore. Dad left her. Me and my dad made up. I asked my dad what the fuck he was thinking. And he apologized and said he was so sorry. And she was a crazy cooter that I didn't even know the half of it. And that he was so sorry he let that happen and he let her come in between us. Thank God I had a normal parent. Clara was a grudge holding Cooter Brown and didn't apologize. Not never. If Clara apologized, you was looking for Jesus because you knew he was somewhere around the corner and he inspired her to do something right because Clara was a grudge holder. So, all that happened. And then I kind of jumped ahead on the divorce. But, so summer between 7th and 8th grade year in Taft, me and my brother and my cousin Adam are out riding dirt bikes. It's Audie and I on a 3-wheeler. Adam, I think, was on a 3-wheeler also, or a 4-wheeler, but he was on his own and I was riding. Audie was driving. Neither one of us has a helmet on. We're cruising. We wreck. We get thrown off, obviously. And when I had landed at one point, I landed on my side and the 3-wheeler like landed on top of me, but didn't end up on top of me. It just kind of popped like as we were rolling and it kind of crushed me together, my hips. So I'm fucked up. My cousin Adam and Audie have to leave me out in the fields behind the houses where my cousin Jason and Melanie lived. And they bomb back. They move me out of the road. They bomb back to the house, get the car, bring the car out into the oil fields where they were riding their dirt bikes, put me in the back of the car, take me back to the house because I can't walk. My legs are fucked up. I'm like, I can't feel certain parts, and there's a lot of pain. So my mom's at work. They call my mom. Shauna got fucked up in a motorcycle accident. My mom's like, oh my God, with this one again. So she comes to take me to the ER. She walks in the house, can tell by the way that I'm acting, moving or not moving. Back to Taft Hospital we go. And they're like, oh, she's sore. She'll be all right. Well, we didn't have, we had Medi-Cal. So a few days goes by. I'm dying. I'm like dying in pain. So my mom decides to take me to KMC to get a different opinion. Because I'm like, something's wrong. So they didn't even do no x-rays at Taft Hospital. So they do them at KMC and do some imaging. And I had fractured my right hip, fractured my pelvic bone on both sides, and punctured a hole in my bladder. Couldn't walk. I mean, there's nothing you could do. I just had to be in bed and on pain meds. And literally, I was on bed rest. And then I got up to, like the part where I'm in a wheelchair for a little bit. Only like a few weeks, though, maybe a month, because I couldn't straighten up because the pressure on the pelvic bone and the hip. And so I am chilling, just chilling in the wheelchair. And then eventually I'm walking with a little cane. And I'm just like, dude, this is wild. So in Maricopa, always on guard, always like, oh my God, this is where I live. Now I'm stuck in a fucking bed. And I had already put my foot down though, so I wasn't nervous about him at this point. I knew if he showed up, I had the ammunition, and it was my mouth to get him to back the fuck off me. And so that's what I did. And, um, I made some really great friends in Maricopa. And, you know, some of you don't know and some of you do, but the Fisher family played a huge role in protecting me and loving me and taking me in. And they're one of the first families that ever did that. And didn't even know that they were a safe haven for me, and as well as the Alvarado family. They were another family that, shout out to my girls, Leandra and Letty. You guys had no idea that you guys played a huge part in being a saving grace for me and a safe place for me, and your families welcomed me and fed me and let me hang out and let me be my little wild self. And I tried to tame it down for you guys a lot. But I did have some great friends in Maricopa. I ended up making some amazing friends, played sports, was involved in school plays, uh, challenged my teachers. Don't think I didn't do that, but did some, fun trips, some cool things that I had never gotten to do. Eighth grade graduation, we went to Catalina Island and had a blast. Um, and I keep in touch with a lot of Maricopa peeps still to this day, over 30 years later. That's what's up, and love you guys, and appreciate you for taking care of me when no one else did and being my safe place. But after I graduated eighth grade, my mom decided, she started dating this guy named Dennis, and it was time to get out of Maricopa. My brothers graduated in 94 high school, the same year that I graduated eighth grade. And my brothers went to Taft High, and I went to Maricopa for grade school, or for fifth grade through eighth grade, and graduated eighth grade out there. My mom decided she didn't want me going to Maricopa High School. She wanted me to go to Taft High School. She was working in Taft. So she was dating a man that lived in Derby Acres. And so we moved from Maricopa to Derby Acres when I graduated eighth grade. And then right before school started, about a month before school started, we moved into a house in Taft with my mom, her boyfriend, Dennis, um, his son, Sean, who was still in high school, and then his sister, Tiffany, who had just graduated and was actually dating one of my cousins, Adam. So small Taft bullshit. But we moved into a house that summer before my freshman year to Taft, so I could start Taft High. Yay, another new school with no fucking friends. Yay. Um, but yeah, so Maricopa, thank God. I mean, my grandparents lived there. I did have to move back there at one point. We'll get to that in the next episode. Excuse me. But my Maricopa days are fucking done, and I am not mad about it, you guys. And I think this is a great place to stop, and then we're gonna jump into Taft High, baby, and my teenage years, which is gonna be another fun, fucking chaotic episode. But I appreciate you guys for being here, and hoping this background noise isn't too bad because I hate being inside all the time and I like being outside. So here we are. And I'm going to start bringing more little content, more little tidbits, more information, more thoughts, more things I've learned that aren't, episode worthy wise, but are definitely messages and things that I want to get out there, because I want nothing more than to teach you guys and help you guys protect your own children, your grandchildren, your nieces, nephews, your neighbors. I don't fucking care. Any and every child, because I don't care what they act like. I don't care what they've been through. I don't care what circumstance you think that they're being babies about or should fucking overcome. You don't know. sometimes why they're acting the way they're acting. And I implore you to please pay better attention to the people that are around your children, whether it should be your family, mostly your family and your fucking friends. That's when you let your guard down, and that's when bad shit starts happening. I mean, you've got to have conversations with your kids. I don't care how young they are. I was 7 fucking years old when this shit started happening to me. No one, I guarantee you, my mom, regardless of how her brother acted, my mom never ever thought her brother would do that to me. And this is something that if you don't speak to them, people groom them, people tease them into a situation that's enticing sometimes and that's confusing. And that's the biggest part of it, is confusing. And you have to have hard conversations with your kids at a very, very young age. And I'm going to get more into how you guys can do that as well. And that's kind of my little tidbits I'm going to be coming on with, is how you can do that, how you can start a conversation, maybe books I'll suggest, because I do have a lot of that information. Being involved with CASA has brought in a lot more awareness to ways to teach and ways to explore communication at different ages with different groups of children. So I just want to end there, and I hope everybody has had a great weekend, and I look forward to popping on more, and it's going to be a lot less uh traumatic, I guess, on the large or on the smaller episodes. On the bigger ones we'll cover the heavy shit. On the little ones we'll stay lighter but still informative. And I appreciate you guys for coming along. Please give me a follow, please give me a shout out, share, like, ask questions, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.